Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. It's actually a live stream, but very few people check in, and I just don't have the time to sit around and edit stuff for no gain. I just like talking about the entertainment that I dig. I welcome any opinions and feedback, thoughts, views on the series The Shining Girls, which all the episodes are out there now on Apple TV Plus. The series stars Elizabeth Moss, Wagner Moura, Jamie Bell, and I think that's most of the principal characters. 8 episodes. It's based on a book by the same name. I can't pronounce the author's name, but it's a South African female, and I was very, very, very big on this show through the first 5 episodes, maybe even 6 episodes. I think the sixth episode, I didn't write down notes, but I think the sixth episode is kind of where they showed you the origins and the premise of what's going on in the series, what they tried to do. But they flash back to how this house came to be basically a brick and mortar time machine. And for me, it just I started losing interest. I started realizing that they weren't going to be able to take whatever is in the book and transfer it, or to the small screen. Still a pretty good job performance wise from Elizabeth Moss. I really dug Wagner Moura as Dan Velasquez. I like him in general, but he really nailed playing a 80s, late 70s reporter. There was a couple of parts where they took his dysfunctionality a little too far for me, with his addiction and whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. It all just boiled down to the lack of detail, or the poor execution on wrapping it up. The eighth and final episode, you knew that Elizabeth Moss's character Kirby was going to get the final say, or defeat Jamie Bell's Harper. You knew that was going to happen, and it just really didn't play out all that. It wasn't done as well as the rest of the show was. I mean, they set it up beautifully, but you really never kind of understood. You got the overall idea of why things were changing at certain points, but that's just such a huge shift, that because Harper is back here doing things in the future or the past, that it changes everything around it. So we never, so Kirby's marriage to Marcus, she didn't know why she married Marcus. It's crazy like when you sit here and really if you really thought about it, if you really dug into the details and tried to understand it, it's just too big of an idea. I'm sure it probably worked in the book. I'm sure the author probably had the time to develop this better. And then back to the house for a second. Where I started struggling with this house is that, you mean to tell me that, and maybe this is, like I said, maybe this is covered in the book, in the novel, but you mean to tell me that this house is standing on this block in Chicago? Nobody's cutting this tall ass grass. No mail is being delivered. No people are really coming and going. No family lives there. Mail being sent there. City taxes. The power. How does the house have power? Shit like that was just what I couldn't get over. I mean, and then when they went back and showed you how the one gentleman that we're introduced to, who is like inhabits the house before Harper gets the house, he runs into the house in the middle of the woods in like the 1600s or something. So I'm just trying to walk myself through it. I'm guessing that the house might not have actually been a physical place. Maybe it was just like this realm or this portal or something. But it's just inconceivable or unfathomable to sit here and think that this freaking house is standing here throughout all this time, and this person is just coming and going. And because the one thing that you saw was that it was a black guy with some Air Jordans who gave the house up. So that lets you know it also goes far into the future. And then I guess it kind of makes the person who owns the house, it's almost like they can't just walk away from it for some reason. Because the black dude who hanged himself, he left a note and said, it's yours. Why didn't you just leave and never come back? The gray-haired guy that gave Harper the house, or I think Harper ended up killing him. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But he was like, have it. You know, I'm tired of it. It's like they're forced to live in the house and do something or whatever, or time travel, but they just can't walk away from it. Harper was sitting here, you know, stuck in it himself, seemingly. And then you get the sense from Kirby in the very end, spoiler alert, that she was in a better place because now she was controlling the change that would occur to the other individual. We saw that she stripped Harper of his uniform and like made it so that he never entered into the service. At the end, when he was talking to his partner, I can't remember his name. But when they were out in the street after she shot him in the shoulder, he ended up being there with a white shirt, and he was like, what happened to my uniform? And so it was almost like, I guess that's what we take away from it, is that, you know, she didn't kill Harper, but she was going to go back and make his life miserable for everything that he'd done to her throughout the years. But, you know, like I said, man, it wasn't all horrible. It wasn't all trash. It was worth your time through the first, like I said, 5 to 6 episodes. It's just when it came to the final conclusion, you know, and the climax and whatnot, it just almost seems like they just ran into a major problem with trying to execute it. We know that the one girl, Jenny, that works at the planetarium or the observation thing, she was supposed to get killed. And I thought in one of the episodes she had even been killed, I thought. I got a little turned around in the timeline. But obviously as things get turned upside down in Harper's world, and he changes, like once he starts figuring out that they're getting close to figuring out who he is and how he's doing what he's doing, he alters some things trying to stay a secret or unknown. And so she ends up living at the end. I don't know, man. Like I said, I like the show. I like the premise. But I just think, you know, like I said, I just started to struggle with believing that this house, just by walking in this door or into the house and then thinking about a time and a date or whatever, a date and a year that you want to go to, you could just travel through time. So, and it started getting a little weird and I don't know if they really explained it, except for Kirby just Kirby just coming out and saying, you know, I got to keep this book to figure out who the hell I am and where I am. But when Kirby told Jenny that her key was missing in whatever year that was, but it was actually a key that was found inside of a body 20 years earlier. And then Jenny started putting together her particle, two particles are connected to one another. And it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. So unfortunately, you know, I thought this was an excellent series that I was really gonna be fully entertained by, and you know, really was a big fan of it. And by the end of the 8th episode, it was kind of just like, let me move on to the next thing. But with that said, as television often does, FX has delivered The Old Man on Thursday nights, I believe, with Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. And so I'm on to something new. I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep with, you know, with the Shining Girls. They just dropped the ball in the end. And that's an important... And I read this art. I'm not even gonna go all the way into it, but I read this. What they call them things up there, the sky trails or whatever. But I just read this article about like a new genre it's called sci-fi weird or weird sci-fi, and increasingly you see these types of shows where just make the premise of the show weird as hell. You may not really tell your story. You might not really have great execution, but entertain the people, be weird as hell, and maybe you get a second season or a third season to kind of figure out what you're trying to say. But I think this was pretty much a one and done. You know, it's just a adaptation from this book, and that's probably the end of it, I would imagine. But something like Raised by Wolves, which was on HBO Max. I made some videos talking about they clearly didn't understand where the hell they were going with that show, and now it's been canceled, and we're never gonna figure out what the hell they were trying to do with Mother and Father. I think that's what the two androids. And now the show is gone. And they had 2 seasons to give us something, and they just couldn't steer it anywhere. And that's kind of what this sci-fi weird is. You just come up with some weird ass premise and put it out there and see how far you can get away with it before the viewership isn't there or the money, you know, the show is canceled. And that's kind of where we are with the Shining Girls. Two good actors and a halfway decent idea, but they just couldn't figure out how to bring it home. So anyway, that's Pay Me No Mind Sports and Entertainment. My lovely wife has come out here to eavesdrop on me. She finally watched a show with me for once, because that's kind of right in her wheelhouse, that type of crime investigation and so on and so forth. But anyway, let me get on off here, man. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.